Have you ever felt overwhelmed when you learn photography? You read tutorials, you watch a lot of videos, and still your photos doesn't seem to progress any further. So you know that there must be something that is wrong. So why is it that some photographers seems to progress from beginners to proficient photographers in a short time? It probably has something to do with the way you learn photography. And in this video I'm going to talk about 5 common errors that beginners do when they start to learn photography. The number 1 mistake is to spend too much time in front of the computer. And I can understand that when you are a beginner you want to learn as much as possible. So you read tutorials and you watch videos on YouTube. But the problem is that one video leads to another video and you get into a rut, so you don't know where to stop. And you don't need to learn everything when you start. It's important to focus on what matters. Because there is so much information available, you find ways to cheat yourself. You think that you are learning, but so by having multiple tabs open on your computer, so you're swapping between videos. And also, if you watch videos at 2 times the speed, I'm doubting that you are learning a lot, but you're scrolling through a lot of videos, or you're scrubbing through videos, but that's not the best way to learn. But all these videos that you watch makes you think or makes you feel that you are really learning. You acquire a lot of information, and the more you read, the more comfortable you feel with your learning. So you think that you are learning, but actually you are not, because unless you practice what you learn, you will not acquire any skills at all. And this is where the clue is. Information is one thing. You can know a lot about photography that you have read, but as long as you don't practice and have the skills actually being out in the field with the camera, pushing the shutter button, then you will not feel comfortable when you go out. So it's like when you learn to swim. You cannot learn to swim by watching videos. You have to jump into the water to be able to learn to swim. And it's the same with photography. Just watching videos and reading about photography will not make you a better photographer. Mistake number 2 when you learn photography is not to focus on what matters the most. And it's hard to understand when you are a beginner, but there are 2 things that are essential to understand, and as long as you understand these concepts, you can do anything related to photography. So you have to understand how to expose and to focus, and you need to know about composition. So the first is a technical part. The composition is more of a visual or aesthetic thing that takes a long time to learn. But when you learn exposure, understanding how shutter speed works, aperture and ISO, how they relate together, you can do any type of photography. So there is no need to learn seascape photography and night photography and long exposure photography. All these are basically the same techniques. It's only so many combinations you can set your shutter and aperture to. So it's no difference whatever matter you are photographing. It's when you learn to walk, when you teach a child to walk, they start to walk on a flat surface inside. And it doesn't mean that you have to teach the child how to walk on grass later or on concrete. As long as you learn to walk, you have learned how to walk, you can walk on any surface. And that's same with photography. When you know the basics, the technical things and composition, you can do any type of photography. The third mistake beginners do when they learn photography is find excuses not to go out and photograph. And a typical excuse is bad weather. Bad weather can actually be a very good condition for photography. When the weather is cloudy and there is a lot of clouds on the sky or overcast weather, you can experience special light conditions as long as when the sun breaks through the cloud. And it can be epic light actually in this situation. So never stop going out because of bad weather. Also, a common excuse I hear a lot is I have nowhere to go. There is no place I can go nearby to shoot landscapes. And that's also not a valid excuse, because wherever you are living, there are probably a park or a small forest or a river or water or anything that you can photograph. It doesn't need to be these epic locations to practice photography. So go out, find a local area where you can come back again and again and again, because then you can take photos in all light conditions and all weather conditions. Another excuse is I have no time to photograph. And that's also not a good excuse, because if you really want to learn how to photograph landscapes, you will find time. You have to put time in your calendar. The fourth mistake beginners do when they start to learn photography is focus on gear. It's too much focus on gear. When you're missing photos and they don't look like you expected, you're blaming your camera. So you're starting to look for another camera or a better camera. But it's most likely not the camera that is the issue. And similarly with a lens, if you think that you need to buy a better lens because your photos are not totally sharp, it's probably because you don't master the technique yet for how to get photos sharp. So you start to watch reviews and look for reviews of the next camera and spend a lot of wasted time on camera reviews. So instead of reading about the new camera and think that a new camera will make you happy and better photographs, just instead spend time on learning the camera you already have. Take the instruction manual of your own camera and read it, and try to understand the settings of your camera. That's the only way you can improve your photography. The fifth mistake beginners do when they start to learn photography is to expect results too fast. Being impatient. Think that you just read a few tutorials or watch a few videos and then you'll be an expert. But it's much more into photography than that. Even professional photographers, when they started at zero knowledge. Everyone has to start from zero, no matter. So when you're professionals, they have done a lot of errors over the course of time when they have learned. They have scrapped a lot of photos. But today, when they master the skills, they are not publishing any of their mistakes, even though they still might do mistakes from time to time. And that's important to understand, that the more failures you do, the more you practice, you will learn from your mistake. So you should spend a lot of time looking at photos from professional photographers or photos that you like. As you learn photography, you should stay positive. You should understand that this takes time. And if you tell yourself that I cannot do this, you're more likely not to be able to learn properly. So stay motivated. Tell instead that I can do this. And more important, take a lot of photos. Go out, practice. The more photos you take, the better skills you acquire. Because every mistake in photography is a part of the learning sequence. So the more mistakes you do, the more you learn from it. And it's also important that you look at the photos, the mistakes. What happened here? Can you identify the problem? What is the reason the photo is not looking the same as you want it to be? So be persistent. Take one step at a time and you will soon start to see progress in your photography. So the most important takeaway from this video is that practice is the only way to get better at photography. No matter how many videos you watch or tutorials you read, unless you get out there with your camera and compose photos, landscape photos, you will not see any improvement. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next.